Hey guys, it's James from the Lore Masters, back here again with another deck profile. So, as promised in my previous video, here is Amber, Sapphire, Stitch. The point of this deck is to ramp your ink up early in the game, so you can drop your Rockstar Stitch, and then drop lots of 1 and 2 drop characters, drawing cards along the way, to make it so that your board is incredibly wide, and so that your opponent will have a big deal trying to kill it all, and then you just quest lots of times and win. If you just want the deck list and you don't want to hear all the explanations about why I've chosen certain cards, then just go straight to the description and the deck list will be there. But if you want to hear why I've chosen certain cards, then stick around. So first things first, we've got Aurora, Dreaming Guardian. We play 4 copies of this card. It has the ability Shift Free, so you can play free ink to play this on top of one of your characters named Aurora, and we do run another copy of Aurora in this deck. But its main ability is Protective Embrace. Your other characters gain Ward. Your opponent cannot choose them except to challenge. So this card protects all of your other characters on board. They can only target this Aurora with anything. This is mainly in there to protect your Stitch, so your opponent doesn't use things like Let It Go or Dragonfire or anything like that, just anything to kill it. It's worth noting that if you have 2 copies of this card on your board, none of your characters, including Aurora, can be chosen by anything, so they all protect each other. So it's a nice little card to have to protect your board. Right, next is the main man himself, is Stitch Rockstar. So he has Shift 4, so you can play 4 ink to play this on top of one of your characters named Stitch. We do run a 1-drop Stitch in this deck, so we can do that, but its main ability is Adoring Fans. Whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may exert that character to draw a card. So this deck is packed full of 1 and 2 drop cards, and ways kind of to discount them to 0 as well, so you can fill up your board, put a lot of pressure on your opponent, and then win from there. He has free lore, but we generally don't quest with it unless we are going to be winning the game from it. You generally want him to be upright so your opponent cannot attack it, because while he's on the board you can just keep playing 1 and 2 drops, and you're drawing cards while you're doing so, so your opponent's wasting resources whereas you're kind of constantly going. Very useful card. I'll explain a combo later on where you can drop him as early as turn 3, and then kind of get going from there. But yeah, he's the backbone of the deck, so you absolutely must be playing 4 copies of it. Next card is Flounder, Voice of Reason. Nothing much to say about this card. It's just a 1-drop in blue that's 2 attack, 2 toughness. It's useful for Stitch. Play it, just exert it, draw a card. You can also discount it down to 0 with Lantern as well. Yeah, it's just a 2/2. Okay, the next is Stitch, New Dog. So here's the Stitch I mentioned earlier. So this will allow you to play your Stitch Rockstar as early as turn 3. It's just there because it triggers the Stitch Rockstar when it comes in and you get to draw a card, but also so you can shift that Rockstar Stitch. So it's very, very useful to have. Yep, again, just a 2 attack, 2 defense with no ability. Okay, the next thing is Hades, Lord of the Underworld. Now we play 4 copies of this card. It has an ability, when you play this character, you can return a character card from your discard to your hand. Now, the more aware of you may have noticed that it does not specify that you cannot return another card called Hades. So if you have a Hades in your discard pile, you can play this card, pick up the other Hades, and just constantly cycle them over and over and over. If you've got 2 Hades in your discard, you could play 1 Hades, pick up another, play that one, then pick up another Hades, and then you can just constantly loop them forever. It's, you know, you can constantly challenge or you can quest, they can die, it doesn't matter, you can just pick them up constantly. The only thing that can interrupt that plan is if your opponent is playing Amethyst and they're using the brooms with Mickey to shuffle these copies of Hades back in. But it's useful to pick up your Stitch if it gets destroyed, or just generally anything that you may need. But that's a nice little trick that you can loop them constantly, so that's why we play 4 copies of it. Once the card pool expands a little bit, you could probably knock that down to 2 copies just so you can do the infinite loop, but because it's uninkable, you probably don't want to run more copies than that. Okay, next thing is Aurora, Regal Princess. She is the 2-drop that your 5-drop Aurora can shift into. She's got 2 attack, 2 toughness, and 2 lore, which is very nice for a 2-drop. But because she has got that 2 toughness, you need to be aware of fire the cannons, because your opponent can just get an easy kill on it. But we play this so the Aurora can shift into it, but it's also a target for the Stitch Rockstar, so you can draw a card from it when it comes into play. The next thing is Minnie Mouse, Beloved Princess. Not much to say about this card. It's 2 attack, 3 toughness. It's a 2-drop, so it triggers the Stitch Rockstar. You get to draw a card. It's just got a nice stat line for a 2-drop. Once the card pool is expanded a bit, she'll probably get replaced with something a bit more useful or something with an ability, but she ticks all the boxes for now. Okay, the next thing is Heihei Boat Snack. So he's got a special ability called Support. So when he quests, he can add his power onto another one of your characters when he quests. So that's quite useful to have if you're trying to attack over something that's causing you issues. If you've got 1 or 2 Heiheis on board, you can quest with them, give the attack boost to something, attack over it. It's a 1-drop, so it works with the Stitch Rockstar, but it's a very useful card to have. I could see this seeing play once the full set's released, just because that support ability is quite useful to have. Okay, so we have Mickey Mouse Detective. So this is one of the few ramp cards in the deck. So when he enters play, you can choose, or so you can take your top card from your deck and put it face down into your inkwell. It doesn't matter if that card is inkable or not, you don't look at it, so you just put it straight into your inkwell. It helps you get to that 5 or 6 ink a lot quicker, so you can play your Rockstar Stitch and then start dropping lots of characters and overwhelm your opponent. It just helps you get to that nice decent ink level. Its stats are okay, they're not amazing, but he serves a purpose of just getting you to that large amount of ink quickly. Okay, and the last character is one of the latest cards to be revealed, and that's Timon, Grub Hustler. We don't know its toughness yet, but it could just be 1 and it would still be useful to have. When he enters play, you can remove up to 1 damage from a chosen character. That could be that you're attacking with some of your characters you're putting in. It could be that your Stitch or your Aurora has been damaged. You can just put them into play, draw a card from the Rockstar Stitch, and then remove the damage. Very, very useful card. I think it will see play when the set is fully revealed, because he's just useful just for that heal. Right, that is all of the characters, so we're going to move on to the songs and the actions and the items cards now. So the first thing is Develop Your Brain. So Develop Your Brain is a 1-cost action. It's look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand and 1 onto the bottom. The reason why this is useful is there's a lot of combo pieces that you need to dig for in this deck to make it work. First one, of course, being Rockstar Stitch, but also your Aurora Dreaming Guardian to protect your Stitch, but also combo cards like Lantern to make your deck run nice and fast. There's just lots of different things you can search for. And late game, when you don't want more ink ramping and you want to get to all of your important cards, you can look at the top 2, put the ink ramp card onto the bottom and get the useful card out of the 2. You ideally don't want to be playing your 1-drops on turn 1, your characters, because you'll want them for when Stitch is on the board, so this is useful to play on turn 1, just so you don't have to do that. Okay, the next card is Let It Go. So a character with cost 5 or more can sing this song for free. Put chosen character into the player's inkwell face down and exerted. There's a few cards that can sing this for free. The first one is Aurora, and the second one is Stitch Rockstar. So over that, you can just cast it for 5, but you just choose your opponent's biggest threat, put it face down into their inkwell. It's worth mentioning that if you do Let It Go on a shifted card, both cards, both the thing underneath it and the thing on top, go into their inkwell, so you do increase their ink by 2. It's a useful card to have just because it can clear anything off the board, and your opponent cannot recur it from their discard pile because it is now in their inkwell. Okay, next one is One Jump Ahead. So a character with cost 2 or more can sing this song for free. Put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So a nice little thing to do is on turn 1 play Grow Your Brain, and then look for this card and then play this on turn 2. to ramp you up to free ink, and then you can play the Mickey Mouse Detective. You can play the Aurora on turn 2 as well, the Regal Princess version, and sing this for free. And then you could potentially play your 5-drop Aurora as well that same turn. A very useful card to have early game. If you draw it late game, not so much. But you know, you play 4 copies because you want to see it as soon as possibly can. Okay, and the last song is Be Our Guest. So a character with cost 2 or more can sing this song for free. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character card and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So you play this card because you want to dig for characters, you want to dig for your Stitch, you want to dig for your Aurora, Dreaming Guardian. There's lots of characters you would potentially want to dig for. So you play this because you can use one of your 2-cost characters that you've dropped with Stitch to sing this for free and find more characters. Play them, exert them, draw from Stitch. So it all works nicely. It's just consistency cards, just to find the bits that you need. Okay, and the last thing is Lantern. Very, very cool card. So I mentioned earlier that there's a way of playing Rockstar Stitch as early as turn 3. So the play basically is Birthday Lights. You can tap this item to have the next character you play costs 1 less. So you play this on turn 2. You tap it to then play your 1-drop Stitch for 0. And pass to your opponent. On the next turn, you can tap Lantern, tap free ink, and then put the Rockstar Stitch on top, because this card has been confirmed to reduce the shift cost. So that is very much worth mentioning, because it does mean that you can also get your Aurora down faster as well. But because this card can discount characters to 0, they've also confirmed it does stack, so if you do have 2 or 3 copies of Lantern on your board, you do discount the character by 2 or 3. So together with Stitch, you can tap this, play a 1-drop for 0, draw a card from the Stitch, tap the other Lantern, do it again, etc, etc. It just helps you fill up your board without having to pay for all the characters, and just gets all of your characters down a lot faster. Bearing in mind this card is not inkable though, so you need to be very careful about how many non-inkables that you play. Okay, that's the deck as a whole, guys, so thank you for tuning in again. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be bringing you some gameplay videos very shortly, and I'll be playing both decks that I've featured so far. So yeah, please stick around